You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
First on the agenda is calling the meeting to order, and then do I have a motion to approve the minutes of April 12th?
I'll make a motion.
Patty, second? John?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then we're going to have an executive session. Now, how do we do that, Trista?
So I need a motion and then a second. You need to invite the candidate in, and then I'll set up a breakout room, and everybody will be pulled into the breakout room.
I'd like
Okay.
to make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second it.
Second, okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Oh.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, just give me a moment to set up the breakout room.
Okay, we're back in the main session now. And no votes were taken. And
I'd like to make a motion, Jill. I'd like to make a motion that the police commission votes to hire Amanda Gonzalez as an officer starting on May 24th, 2021. Can I have a second?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Welcome aboard, Amanda.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Thank you
Amanda.
so much. Thank you. I appreciate you all so much.
But we appreciate you too. Not enough women. Okay, report of the chief.
Congratulations, Amanda. You're more than welcome to stay, but you can exit if you would like. That's completely up to you. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
I'll go through the chief's report. In your packet, the ComStat report, just some things to note there. You'll see a slight decrease in our stolen cars. This time last year, we had 18. We're at 12 right now. We had 3 stolen in this reporting period. Back on the 17th, there was an arrest made by Officer Crowley of an occupied stolen car. Shockingly, the person stopped, and we were able to take him into custody. But you will see that our theft from vehicles are up significantly in this period. It's a 64% increase year to date. And what is driving some of this is, again, the crimes of opportunities where the cars are unlocked and they're going through them. But also in this category is the catalytic converter thefts, which I'm sure you're seeing on the media. Because of the value of some of the metals within those, thieves are cutting those right out of driveways in commercial parking lots. So that is contributing to some of that uptick. Also in the traffic enforcement, you'll see that the numbers are down. This can be attributed to a host of factors. One being we have a very heavy training schedule in April. We had a lot of training going on, vacations, and we did have the critical incident, which required a lot of manpower for a significant amount of time in follow-up. So, that proactive discretionary time, when we pull away from that, you'll see those numbers go up and down. But as we go into the warmer months, we have some focused areas that we're looking on. We're going to see an increase in pedestrian traffic. We have some areas that we've identified. So you will see those efforts continue through the traffic officer, but also throughout the shifts and their radar assignments. Also, I would be remiss if we didn't recognize this formally. I know that I've spoken to all of you individually at certain points of time, and the media has covered this, but I just want to highlight a few things on the critical incident of 13th of April on Main Street. I'm really, I don't know where to start with this, because this is the kind of incident that you train for, or you go to class and they put up on the whiteboard, or they talk about, and you're like, yeah, this is something you hope you never face. You don't want to face it, but we did. The 13th at noon, they were faced with a significant challenge, and they met that challenge head on. And I mean that from all aspects, from a leadership aspect, from a tactics aspect, discipline, teamwork, just an amazing response. So for the average person, they look at a crisis like that and they say to themselves, oh, we don't even know where we would begin. Oh my God, how do they do that? Well, how they do that is you have to have a framework. You have to have something to work off of, and we do have that. We have what we call the priority of life. We have a hierarchy, and that hierarchy is the civilians and the citizens. They're number one. They are always our number one. We will put our safety ahead of theirs, and then come the first responders, the officers. They're second, and then third is the suspect, and that's how we work. We've had training on that. We've pushed that through the agency, and that was up front and center. The leadership, under the deputy chief's direction, listen, a crisis of this magnitude, the demands that are put on your mind, the demands of the thinking process and what you have to do, what was done that day was an A+ from a response. It's a textbook response. And all that they did collectively, there was a lot of independent thinking. In a crisis, the deputy could command as much as he wants, but certain things aren't going to get done without independent thinking, and they did that. So they had their framework. It was fast moving, it was complex, and very high stakes. Every decision that those officers had to make, and as a command, Captain Watrous, the deputy chief, and all the others, every decision they made had a human life attached to that decision. Not easy, but they were able to prioritize and do things, effect a rescue of an injured party, assess those injuries. So, to go through that. Another thing in our business, which is paramount in a critical incident, is what they call the 7 critical tasks. That means that you get there, you assess, you figure out what you have, you contain. What they did, we had officers on construction jobs. We had officers in training. We had command staff, including the deputy chief and the captain, who went there. They assessed and shut the roads down immediately. Huge. Certainly a contributor to saving lives, hands down. Then they contained the gunman. We had the gunman contained very quickly, very quickly. So that was one of the critical tasks. Then they set up a staging area for more resources. They controlled the over-response from other agencies. They were very tempered in what they wanted and how they wanted it. So all those tenets in that training, coupled with just professionalism, calmness, selfish acts of putting, the captain and Officer Kudo were pinned down behind the car. They assessed it. They said, we're okay right now. The deputy called for the armored vehicle right quick because he knew he had an effect on the rescue. That was the safest way to do it. Our partners at East Haven PD came over right away and assisted the fire department. An event like this, they're in the background, setting up triage centers, getting ready to assist us. They are now more of a part on the medical end in a crisis. So they set up their teams, their rescue task force, as they call them. So all this is happening within a very short window. But when we look at what they faced when they got there, they're at the disadvantage right off the bat. an elevated position, rifle fire. Now, rifle fire is a lot different than handgun fire. Rifle fire is a whole different ball game. It will penetrate a lot of our body armor. It will penetrate through cars. It's a different ball game. And they were met with that. And because the gunman was on the second floor and didn't present himself, I've mentioned this publicly once before. I've had people ask, why didn't they shoot? Why didn't they shoot? Well, he didn't present himself. I believe he understood tactics, and he would stand back enough from an elevated position that you couldn't see him. So as the rounds were going off, our people were disciplined in the face of danger and under fire, that they knew they really couldn't just shoot blindly into the building. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of what they did and how they faced it. Equipment. All of you, the commission, the first selectman, the town, the board of finance, all the people that hear our equipment requests, and some people shake their head, and I'm going to be very blunt with this. There are people who say that we don't need rifles in law enforcement. There are people that say we don't need some of the equipment that we have. And as someone who was the lead on the regional armored vehicle probably about 9 years ago, I took severe criticism from some people that it's unneeded. And unfortunately, we've used it many times. And I will tell you, it was used by the deputy chief at his order to extract 2 Branford police officers from the middle of Main Street in Branford when a person fired upwards of 190 rounds. So, you know what? We hope to never use this stuff. We don't want to use this stuff. But it's like me telling a carpenter, we're not going to give you a hammer or a saw. So, you know, my hat's off to the community of Branford and all those that have supported us, because we had the equipment. All our vehicles had active shooter kits in it, so our people were able to put on a higher level of protection. They had helmets. We had rifles. Rifles were key to this, to get containment right away. So we had that. What we also had was the training. Training costs money. We've talked about this for a long time. We had this. So the deputy and the captain and the command staff, they had all these resources, and they had the toolbox to go to dip into to successfully mitigate this unheard of threat. In my career, this is one of the biggest critical incidents in the sense of gunfire that I know in my career. I don't know of anyone who's fired that many rounds. And I will say that when we do look at this, there's the human dimension, which I think is the most important to look at. And that is, we can't always control what people do. We won't have all the answers. Our detectives have been working diligently to uncover every single shred of evidence or facts. But what I will tell you, I think it's important for the public to understand, is that we may never have all the answers. We may never have the motive or what set him off or what it truly led up to this. We will try our best. It'll all be contained in the report. We do have another investigation. We did have some contact with a concerned citizen days before. We're looking at that and looking at those facts. But I also want to stress that call too has the human dimension in that. There's certain things that we can control, and there's certain things we can't. But when I look at this from the outside, not because these are our men and women, our brave men and women of the department, but I look at this from an educational and as an instructor and looking at this over the years, I give this a straight up A+. That this response was what you want. Mitigate, contain, and lives were saved because of the actions of these officers. So my utmost respect to them. They faced it. And what I want to say with the calmness, if you listen to some of those radio transmissions that we released publicly and look at the body cam videos that we released, the calmness, the thought, the discipline, you just don't come to work one day and say, well, I'm going to, be brave. That's not how it works. You can be courageous, but to have that level, that speaks volumes to our people. And I'm very proud of them. I'm proud of the deputy chief. That is not an easy position to be put in. They rose to the occasion. So all in all, I just wanted to publicly give you guys a summary of that. I know we've spoken about it here and there, but my hat's off to them.
Truly, congratulations
Well said.
for the entire department. It was a very, very difficult day, but everyone did an incredible job, and we're very, very proud of the entire leadership and the entire department. You guys really should be commended.
And, also, I think it's important to thank our partners, even the regional SWAT team, the value of that. I think one of the early radio transmissions from the deputy was get SWAT en route. And that's a partnership we formed years ago. We contribute people to that. We cover 6 towns. It's a highly trained team, very well-equipped team, and quite frankly, a pretty experienced team. Lieutenant Joe Wozniak from North Haven PD is the commander. He worked hand in hand with the deputy chief as that incident. So it just didn't end early. This went on for, as we all know, a very long time. And that's a tough roller coaster to be on from a leadership position, but they did it flawlessly. So we thank them, the SWAT team. The Connecticut State Police sent some resources, as well as New Haven's bomb squad. And Chief Mahoney and his people over at the firehouse again, and Town Hall. Everyone had a hand in this. It was a team effort. So with that, I'll move on to some of the less exciting things. Forfeiture report, there's nothing to report. It's still stable. We haven't had anything significant there. Injury report. We did have 2 officers out on injury leave, Officer Caroline Massey and John Casella. They were on a mental health call with a male party, and Sergeant Amber Morgan was dealing with this person who was in need, and he very quickly, within a second or so, just violently attacked them. It was a very violent struggle. Officer Massey suffered a concussion during that attack. They were able to subdue him. So that happened a while back. And today we got word that they're both cleared for duty. So I'm happy to report that they're back out on the streets. It's just another reminder of how dangerous this job. It's a tough video to watch. They were doing everything right, and he just attacked them. Letters. I have a ton of letters. The community support has been fantastic, and it means a lot. First was a juvenile shoplifting incident in which Officer Casella responded to, and the mother of the child wanted to write and acknowledge that the climate in this country involving the police and race relations has been difficult, but the kindness and the patience that she saw from Officer Casella interviewing and dealing with her child, she felt it was necessary to reach out and thank us for professional policing. So great job by Officer Casella there. Another one is to Detective Atkinson for his work with the community and his ongoing work. One of the residents saw Detective Atkinson at the critical incident on Main, and it really struck a chord with her because she knows how hard he works, and she wanted to reach out and thank us and thank him. There was another one that was handwritten to Officer Vitale, and the person was in crisis, and it was what she called one of the most difficult days in her life. And she says that you were there to help me and my family for whatever help we need, and everything went smoothly, and it means so much to us. And that was for Officer Vitale. I have another one, basically for the entire department, and has a little Superman symbol on it. And it says, people like you who naturally go above and beyond make this world a better place for all of us. Thank you so much, with another personal note from that resident. And I kind of freelanced that comment about the incident, but I forgot the dispatchers. One thing that they did was they set that tone of calmness when they took the initial calls, and their work was fantastic. They set everything in motion. So my apologies for missing them. They're all often the ones that are forgotten behind the scenes, but they make the world go round for us. But there was a letter to them thanking them for all they did that day. And they certainly deserve all the credit for getting us off on the right foot with that. And then there's the last one of just all of us. We were praying for all of you. We're so happy that there's no loss of life. We're here for you. So a lot of very nice comments from the public and just overall public response. And that's what we need from the community. We need their support. We try every day to earn their support. So that's all the letters I have. Lastly, I just want to turn it over to the deputy for a little bit. He's going to cover a few areas, and one of them is the mental health. So at this point, I'll yield to the deputy chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. So I know we've talked in the past about what we call the police social worker position. I guess the formal name is the emergency response social worker, because this position will be servicing all town departments. So as we discussed in the past, that's been presented to the RTM Administrative Services Committee. The position actually falls within the Human Services Department of the town. More recently, our crime analyst, Dominique Rigalto, did another analysis of our mental health related incidents, this time focusing on 2021 from January 1st to present. So we had initially some of our data came out of September of 2020. That's where we began looking at this position and a different response based on the Police Accountability Act. So the recent data which was learned was that year to date, our mental health incidents have increased by 25% in comparison to the previous 5-year period. So it's just it's an important number to know. A lot of it probably comes out of COVID and all the life changes that we've all had to deal with. But additionally, out of the calls for service analyzed, 36% of the calls for service involved the same individual. So of those repeat subjects, that involved an average of 3 incidents per repeat subject. So that accounted for 329 work hours since January 1st, which had been consumed between the police department and the fire department on mental health related incidents. 63% of those incidents resulted in hospitalization of the citizen. Of all hospitalizations, 79% were non-voluntary or involuntary for the purposes of protective custody. 12% of hospitalizations were voluntary and 9% were due to an injury or other medical issue. So of those 61% in involuntary committals, those were at the request of police. There were 16% were performed by a clinician requested to respond to the scene by officers on scene. So again, the strengths that we pointed out before of the position makes a licensed clinical social worker available to us here at the PD. It's someone that we can bounce cases off of. It's someone that will work here out of the PD with us, will be a second responder to people in crisis, and the position will act as a liaison between social services and needs of community members to provide for follow-up, to make sure people are connected with services that they need, hopefully will improve lives and reduce future contacts with police. So in addition to that update, I wanted to just discuss our hiring process and recruitment. We have announced an entry-level exam process for position of police officer, which is now live on policeapp.com. We're accepting applications through June 1st. So we continue to run an ongoing recruitment effort for certified officers. Since 2019, we hired 9 lateral police officers, the 10th being Amanda Gonzalez tonight. So that's a good number of lateral police officers since 2019 alone. We additionally have one in the background phase, which we anticipate presenting to the board next month. So being at 10 laterals, we felt an obligation to establish a new recruit list and provide an opportunity locally for people in town to join our agency, people who are not already police officers. So presently there's 90 applicants in that process. And if anyone is interested, they can visit policeapp.com and learn more. So other than those 2 topics, we do have another CSO who's being hired for Stony Creek. His name is Michael Gray. He's presently enlisted in the U.S. Navy, stationed out of Groton, where he's a logistics specialist who works on submarines. He has a flexible schedule and can accommodate the part-time work. So he has U.S. Navy top clearance, and I think he's going to serve us well, and he should fit in very well down in as in the CSO position. So. Other than that, if anyone has any questions, that's all I had.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Chief.
Okay, anybody else? I think next would be traffic, but there's nothing to report. Then report of the chair. And, you know, the only thing I can say, and I think I speak for the whole police commission, is we are so proud to be part of this. You know, it's, you guys do such a good job. And the only letters I see are all congratulatory letters, no complaints. You know, of course, maybe, John, you might have some yourself tucked away, but I think on the whole, you do such a good job, such a good job. So, to you.
Thank you.
And if no one has anything else to add, do I hear a call for adjournment?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn, please.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Henry, good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.